Detroit Future City has released its first comprehensive data report on the city's people, population, economy, and physical space. The report is called 139 Square Miles. It contains the most up-to-date information to provide a reliable snapshot of the city. The report was funded by the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. Here now to tell us more about the findings are Anika Goss-Foster. She's the Executive Director of Detroit Future City, and Katie Locker is a Program Director at the Knight Foundation. Both of you, welcome to American Black Journal.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So talk about the purpose of this report. 2012, we get the strategic framework from Detroit Future City. How's this different?
So this is different because the framework was really intended to be a long-term framework plan for Detroit that not only provided sort of a state of the city, but also made very specific recommendations about what Detroit could look like in 20, 30, and 50 years. Yeah. So for this report, we really felt like it was a good time to provide a baseline report without recommendation so that people can all have the same information at the same time. That all Detroiters, whether you're the president of a block club or the CEO of a corporation, that everyone has numbers that affect them in of Detroit.
Yeah, and this is something we just don't normally have around here. We talk about all of these issues a lot, but we don't always have the sort of detail about what they really look like.
Right, and it's organized to really focus on people, place, and economy. So it really does tell a story from start to finish of where we are right now.
Yeah. Talk about why the Knight Foundation thinks this is an important thing to be funding in Detroit.
Well, at its core, Knight Foundation funds informed and engaged communities. And
so this is the informed part.
This is the informed, but it's also the engaged part, because how do you have a conversation about poverty in Detroit or about our housing and housing costs and what's happening with real estate if you don't have the basic facts available to you, and if we don't all share those facts? And in a world where we're having increasing debate about what facts do we trust, how do we have a partner that can put out this information and we all have confidence that it's verifiable, we know where it came from? And so it was just a really natural thing for Detroit Future City to do this, and Knight Foundation was glad to fund it.
Some of the numbers in there really blow your hair back, I think. The poverty numbers are starker than I would have thought they would be. The maps of racial segregation, the jobs picture. You know, you get depressed, I guess, if you read too deeply into those numbers.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. I look at it as, yes, the disparities exist, but what it also shows is that we're growing in ways that we wouldn't have expected to even 5 years ago, right? That the population decline is actually slowing, that there are more neighborhoods that are stabilized now than we've had in many, many years, and that our job rate is actually growing. And so because all of those things are happening, even though there are these disparities, what that also directly speaks to is that there's an opportunity for inclusiveness and to create more opportunities for pathways to wealth in ways that we hadn't before.
Do you imagine that the people who are making the decisions about the information that we saw in the strategic framework in 2012 about how the city might look in 20 or 30 years, can use what's in here to make the decisions that need to be made to make that happen?
I certainly hope so, and you're starting to see some of it, right? Like the idea of cluster-based economic development was a big part of the economy section in the strategic framework, where it said focus on neighborhoods where there's already economic opportunity, right? And making those investments there, and you already see that happening. So the part that I think no one could have anticipated were the pathways so that everyone can participate in those economic opportunities, and that's sort of what we need to know, like the information we need to know, that even though there's all of this strategic investment and economic growth, that there's a whole group of people that aren't able to participate
Aren't really feeling that.
Yeah, they're not feeling it, and they don't even know how to become a part of it, right? They don't feel like that this is something for them, when in fact, if it's Detroit, it's definitely for them. It should be for them first, right?
Right. Night, of course, is involved not just in Detroit, but other places around the country. Do you have a sense of how what we're doing here with DFC, both in terms of the 2012 report and this report, sort of reflect the things that other people are thinking about, or is this pretty unique to Detroit?
You know, part of what requires this report is that the world is watching Detroit, and that's what I see is my colleagues across the country are asking those questions. Well, what's happening in Detroit, and how are you doing this? And so having this kind of information that we all agree upon gives us a starting point. I don't think every city is as sort of self-reflective. Our challenges are causing us to have to talk about it, and it's my hope that this actually reflects that we're moving in a direction that other cities are going to have to follow, because we're going to actually know what happened and have learned from it and have documented it. And so that's part of what we're interested in investing in, is making sure that that story can be told in a way that's factual and based on good data, so that other communities can learn from it.
I would imagine that in a few years we'll want another one of these. Do you think the numbers will look different?
I certainly hope so. No, I definitely think they will, because there are already some gains that we've made in the past that sort of led right up to the report that weren't included in the report because we wouldn't have even had the verified information yet. And so I think you will see some gains in things like the median household income increasing, and in the median home costs increasing, as well as income. We're hoping that we can see some of the income disparities move, some of those numbers moving as well. The job rate numbers moving, and the education. Like because of the Promise program, for example, there will be more. You should see more gains.
More people
who have degrees, that at least an associate degree, that you wouldn't have seen in this report.
Okay, great work, and thanks for both of you for being here.
Thank you for having us.